Okay. See, I picked you out of the crowd. You stand out, buddy. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all out here for an evening of information about the Independence Party of Alberta. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's give yourselves a round of applause. The Independence Party of Alberta is truly a grassroots movement with real solutions for real problems that all Albertans are facing, and we will continue to face those problems until we take a stand together and fight for change. At this time, I would like to invite my friend Rob Anders to open our event with a prayer.
I'm usually used to Pastor Art Pulaski doing these types of things, but Lord, we thank you for the good attendance this evening. We ask for your guidance for the province of Alberta. We ask for perseverance through any economic troubles and turmoil that may be ahead of us. We ask that you right the wrongs against your will for this province. And we ask your blessings on our deliberations tonight. Amen.
Thank you, Rob. So my name is Shannon Packham, and I'm from Patricia, Alberta. And until today, I had not been in a school since February of 2020. I was a teacher, well I am still, but I decided in February that if you are not going to stand up for what is right, then you have to understand that you're part of what is wrong. I went back to school today. You also might recognize me from the Freedom Movement, standing on the corner with my sign that says Kenny's for treason, all that stuff. Or with the Alberta Unity Project, which then turned into the Alberta Prosperity Project. I've worn a lot of different hats over the years. The most important hat that I think that I've ever put on my head is for all of the little people that call me Grandma. And that's the reason that I'm fighting so hard. That's the reason that I've traveled across this province, fighting for this Independence Party. Because I'm just, like those little kids they're counting on me to be the change. And I'm just trying to invite all of you guys to be the change you want to see in the world. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." We're certainly facing those challenges right now. Controversy seems to be part of the sea that we've all been swimming in. The Independence Party believes that we can tackle that controversy with courage, integrity, honesty, and hard work. The speakers you hear this evening will help you to understand how these characteristics will be key in helping Alberta achieve the greatness we all know she is capable of. We're more than just another party. This is a true freedom movement. We're gaining momentum in a true sweeping fashion. We are the only party who will hold a referendum on independence, giving us the leverage we need with Ottawa. This truly is a movement for the people, by the people, with not one politician at our table. We believe in integrity, we believe in honesty, and we believe in transparency. And we believe in being accountable to the people of Alberta. The last couple of months truly have been a flurry of activity. We held a leadership race where the candidates started out as friends and remained friends to the end. At one point during a debate, actually 2 times, they hugged each other. They stopped debating and just gave each other a hug. That's something that no other debate has ever had, guarantee it. Another point of interest is that in the leadership race, 68% of the eligible voters cast their ballot. That is something that no other party has a claim to fame on. We truly are making history right now, and I'm inviting all of you to join us in being part of that history. It starts right now, and it starts with all of you. So this is what I need you to do. There's a membership table at the back over here. There's merchandise over here. That's how we're keeping this bus rolling across Alberta. We need your help with that. We have a silent auction item somewhere in this building, and you're just going to absolutely love it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There's refreshments at the back, and the baking has come from the ladies in Fairview, Alberta, so it's made a lot of miles. The washrooms and the exits are just at that door. Their exits are marked with an exit sign. If something happens in here, take somebody by the hand and get out, okay? Just get out. All right, so here's the thing. I'd like for all of us to recognize our volunteers as well, because nothing happens without volunteers. Can we give them a round of applause, please? So now is when I start asking you to get out your pen and paper, and I start asking you to help us out. So tomorrow we are going to putting out signs, and we need a lot of people to do that. We need 4 vehicles that can hold the signs, a truck probably, with 2 people in each vehicle. Frank and I have been doing this all week. Frank's an old hand at it. I'm just not sure if he's ready to do that in Medicine Hat tomorrow. So we'll meet at the office at 419 North Railway at 9 a.m. and then we will make a plan about where these signs are going to go. There's a volunteer sheet back over there on the membership table, and if you can help us out with that, that would be great. We're also going to need scrutineers at every polling station. Every single polling station is going to need somebody there to say, yes, they counted the ballots properly, no, they didn't redo it, something like that. We need door knockers, lots of them. I think there's enough people here, so just leave your names with Sharon and we'll all go tomorrow. Okay? You coming? You're coming, I know it, you're coming. And we also need people that don't mind, that are good on the phone, that can just phone somebody up and say, hey, can you help us out with this? That would be great. And also we need donations. Every campaign needs to have money to keep their campaign people rolling, and we're running a little bit short. So you can talk to the gals over there about that too. All right, have you heard me talking enough? Are you ready to get going? I can go on and on. Like we were doing math today, tens, hundreds, thousands. You want to go about that? Okay. Our first guest. Our first guest is an Alberta advocate who believes in freedom and prosperity for all Albertans, with no Albertan left behind. He proudly puts the well-being and success of his friends and neighbors first. He is a proud Métis with ancestral ties going back to his 4th great-grandfather, Chief Black Powder, the last holdout to the signing of the Treaty 6, a man who opposed the global elites of his time. He is one of the co-founders of former president of the Alberta Unity Project, renamed in January as the Alberta Prosperity Project, or APP. In about mid-May, he realized the need for something stronger, something louder, and at that time he transitioned to the best grassroots political vehicle of the day, the Independence Party of Alberta. For the past 3 years, he has dedicated himself almost full-time to this cause, and even before that, when he saw the corruption erupting within the UCP. He has always stood for truth, honesty, integrity, and accountability. He is known by his friends as a protector of the people, fearless when it comes to doing the right thing. He was born in Taber and comes from a large family. He's an exceptional father of 2 adult children and has been married to his best friend, Dana, for 31 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our candidate for the MLA of Brooks Medicine Hat, Mr. Bob Blayone. Apparently he needs a taller thing.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and it is truly a pleasure to be running in the Brooks Medicine Hat region. I've been blessed to travel Alberta, meeting many new friends, and it's always an honor to do so. So the conversations around your region here have been inspiring, to say the least. There's a lot of frustration out there, same as the North. And it's time for us to try something new. And it's time for us to take action and truly make a difference and bring meaningful change to our province so our children have a much brighter future. So I also wanted to just thank the volunteers for all their hard work and dedication. We have people from all across Alberta coming to help. We have 2 buses coming from Calgary on November the 5th, I believe it is, to come down and help out. So yeah, this is all hands on deck and it's time to go. This is our opportunity. So let's take advantage of it. So yes, I come from very humble beginnings. Born in Tabor, as Shannon said, lived in Raymond as a young boy, and then my father moved us north for opportunity. And it was through the opportunity of oil and gas where I was able to lift myself up and my family. And yeah, as a young boy, we didn't have much. A lot of times we didn't have much food in the cupboard, and so we learned how to persevere and work hard and fight for ourselves. So I guess that's part of my nature today. Of the outreach I received the last 33 months has had me on my knees at times. Just tragic, heartbreaking. Families and communities have been destroyed, people's lives have been destroyed. And it's still going on. No matter what the UCP tell us, it's still happening. Nothing's changing. They're all talk and no action. So I'm very blessed in life to be married to my wife and best friend of 31 years. Proud father of 2, uncle to 40, and friend to many. Right now, my own family is shattered through this. And you know, I watch some of these politicians not have the fortitude and courage to stand up, that they're not willing to risk their own paychecks, right? They hide in the weeds, they play it safe, and we can't do that today. You know, I look at individuals like Dr. Paul Alexander, one of my heroes of the day, who's laid it all on the line and sacrificed everything. I email him frequently, and I mean, he wants to come to Alberta so bad and have, if you're not aware of who Dr. Paul Alexander is, he's a former advisor to the White House, long time with the WHO, world-renowned researcher and epidemiologist, and he's been pushing back on this wrongness for a long time. So we're hoping to get him to Alberta at some point and have a large event for the man. He deserves it. He deserves our support. So I left the oil field in 2015, and I had time to get involved in politics, and I got involved in the PCs and then the UCP and participated in that. That's where I learned a lot about politics, what happens behind the scenes. It was really good education. After the election, I didn't like what I saw, a few things, and a few things I spoke up, but I spoke up behind the scenes, and I'll never do that again. Transparency is important. I hear it all over the place. Accountability and transparency. People are starving for that. And truth also. So why am I running in southern Alberta? There's a few reasons. Number one is Alberta's my home. I consider Alberta my home, no matter where it is in the province. I care about Albertans. We do, both my wife and I do. We care about all the children, not just our own. And we are just trying to pay it forward. This province has blessed us, and we just want to pay it forward. We will move here if successful. I'm not going to be one of those guys. We will move here and buy a home here. And that's what we're dedicated to do. So, another reason is to have the opportunity to have a conversation with the Premier in a debate on stage. It's going to be very, the Medicine Hat debate is on November 3rd. We got 60 seconds to open and 2 minutes to close, so that doesn't leave much opportunity there, but there'll be some chance there to speak, to share my voice and to speak for everyone, and to question, ask the hard questions. There's another one in Brooks on November 2nd, and I'm hoping that one will be a little looser format where we can have some back and forth dialogue, and I have specific questions I want to ask her. The first one is the cabinet choices. It's the same. What's changed? Same cabinet. So you tell me what's going to happen. Kenny's still at the table there. We know that. So I have no hope in that. I don't. And it's, what is this? This is the third now. There was the Kenny leadership review, then the leadership race, and then now this great hope that changing out one politician, one MLA, is going to change anything. No, you're here because you don't buy that either. So, it's we got to let some of our friends go through the process and let them find out the hard way. And we'll be waiting for them. The door will be open. They're more than welcome to come when they're ready. So, I oppose the climate change agenda. Passionately. When I want to learn something, I reach out to the very best. With COVID, I mean, that's why I can talk now, Dr. Paul Alexander, Dr. Peter McCullough. With climate change, there was an individual named Professor Mike Hume, H-U-L-M-E. He was one of the original climate professors or scientists with IPCC, and when they implemented carbon taxes, he was gone. He's a rational man and very grounded. So that's who I would suggest. My suggestion to the Alberta government, to Daniel Smith, is, you know what? Before you start talking about net zero and carbon capture, carbon pricing and all that, why don't we go back and have a conversation about climate change? Yeah. Let's do that first. So Danielle she's identified that WEF have infiltrated Alberta through HS as a partnership there. Well, that's one tiny little component. If she truly wanted to, drill down to the meat on the bones, she would talk about the fact that a World Economic Forum affiliated organization, Forte, has been lobbying our Alberta government. And the CEO of that organization is a World Economic Forum global shaper. He himself has been in our legislature 3 times, and a lobby organization has lobbied on their behalf multiple times. Here's a quote. Why is Forte working with our governments? Not only the Alberta government, but with the Trudeau government. This is a quote. To reskill and train people for the green jobs, to replace unsustainable industries such as coal mining, beef farming, logging, and oil and gas. How do we reskill oil and gas workers and people in unsustainable industries? Forte is bound to the World Economic Forum's climate change agenda through sustainable development goals. Remember that term, sustainable development goals. Somebody approached me and reminded me there's an individual, Mark Friesen from Saskatchewan. I'm supposed to go on a podcast with Mark here soon because we share this in common interest here, but he is much better versed than I am on it, and I want to learn from him. I want to learn this in great detail. So net zero, carbon pricing, carbon capture, fertilizer reduction, all of it, it's the same thing. It's all tied together. So I've had enough. Have you had enough? Yeah. So now, let's talk about our healthcare sovereignty. There has been none. Why? Why is that? Well, we are bound to the World Health Organization international health regulations. And, I was busy campaigning and I didn't have time to really look into this until yesterday morning. But again, if Danielle Smith and UCP want to change things for the better interest of us, they better start talking about this and pushing back on it. Here's a quote from the Government of Canada. Canada and the international health regulations. The international health regulations are binding on the World Health Organization in 196 countries, including Canada. The IHR came into force in 2007. International health regulations implementation is supported by Canada's health portfolio and other federal departments, provincial and territorial governments. Canada implements the IHR under existing legislation, regulations, policies, and agreements in place at both the federal and provincial and territorial levels. Among these requirements is the ability to carry out surveillance, reporting, notification, verification, response, and collaboration activities across the country and at points of entry, designated airports, ports, and ground crossings with international traffic. Canada has mechanisms, agreements, and plans in place that enable national coordination, particularly during public health emergencies that require federal involvement. So this next section is from the World Health Organization International Health Regulations, their own documents. Subject to applicable international agreements and the relevant articles of these regulations, a state party may require for public health purposes on arrival or departure information concerning the traveler's destination so that the traveler may be contacted. A review of the traveler's health documents if they are required under those regulations. If a traveler for whom a state party may require a medical examination, vaccination, fails to consent to any such measures or refuses to provide that information, the state party concerned may deny entry to that traveler. If there is evidence of an imminent public health risk, the state party may, in accordance with its national law, to the extent necessary to control such risk, compel the traveler to undergo or advise the travelers to undergo vaccination. Additional established health measures that prevent or control the spread of disease, including isolation, quarantine, or placing the traveler under the public health observation. We are bound by UN/WHO health regulations. That's the problem. So this next section, I get upset when I start talking about this. There was a meeting held on November 10th, 2021. And the reason I threw this in here tonight is because Peter reminded me, Shane Getson, he had a terrible vaccine injury, life-threatening, right? So the month after he had that injury, he was in this meeting on November 10th, 2021 with Drs. Robert Blayone, the inventor of the mRNA tech, Dr. Paul Alexander, Dr. Roger Hodgkinson, Dr. Peter McCullough couldn't attend, he had a last-minute family emergency, but Peter was hoping for further meetings with these individuals. So, it was a very clear message. At the time, it was 132 peer-reviewed studies, solid science. And the message was simple: shut it down now. It was just before the children were about to get vaccinated. The next day, I received a phone call from one of the political operatives, one of the political organizers there behind the scenes of the politicians, and they had chosen Shane Getson to table the research in the Alberta legislature. And I have it all in emails. Once it was tabled, it would become source documents. That never happened. And now, Shane is out there, he's on Western Standard, talking about how he's had this terrible vaccine injury, he wants to help people and whatnot, when he could have absolutely, and all of them, could have sounded the alarm. And they still can, because that's what Dr. Alexander and Dr. McCullough want. They want to come to Alberta, just have an opportunity to have a press conference with these politicians going to be sitting there beside them. They don't have to say a darn thing. Just sit there and support. But they won't do that. They play like a political card. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So the existing parties, all of them, every single one of them, have betrayed us so badly. They don't care about us. They don't. They worry about their own paychecks and staying safe, hiding in the weeds, not taking a chance for us. That is the worst group of people you could have had in there through this time. And now they're trying to sweep it all under the rug. No accountability. They think they're going to get away with this. That's what this is about. That's what all this is all about. No, that's not going to happen. We're not going to let it happen. They will not silence us. They will be held accountable. So, we need to take meaningful action and defend our way of life. Defend our beef and oil and gas and agriculture, mining, forestry, small business, healthcare and public sector employees. They too were forced into a bad situation. This is a unifying moment. I had contact from the head of a public union, and his quote was this: "We know we're on the verge of losing everything. Our jobs, our pension, everything." And I said, "Holy smokes, you're wide awake." And he said, "Yes, we are." So we'll see what happens with that. I know it's a daunting task, but again, traveling around, talking to people, when they hear about this new option, this exciting grassroots principled organization, they want to be a part of it. So it is, our answer at the end of the day is part of our platform, as Shannon mentioned. It's the referendum on independence. We need that. We need to all wrap our heads around that, and you're here, you understand the power of that. But we need to share that message out with our friends and neighbors, and get them just to understand that the power behind that and how that would create such meaningful change to the future of Alberta. So we're going to keep pounding the truth every day, knocking on doors, having conversations, sharing this message of hope, and getting it done, getting the job done. So thank you everybody for coming tonight, and look forward to talking to you. Thanks.
Where were we? Just kidding. Our next guest. Our next guest is a well-known advocate for the poor and the homeless. A warrior who stands for human rights and free speech as a Canadian clergyman and a civil and human rights activist. He was born in Poland and grew up under a communist regime, seeing soldiers with machine guns and tanks on the streets as people rose up in 1981 to fight for their freedoms. He experienced communism and also witnessed its end. As a teenager, he immigrated to Greece, and in 1995, he immigrated to Canada. Despite life's struggles, he became involved in many different businesses, shipping and distribution of goods, building and development, even a high-end magazine. After experiencing a true medical miracle in the arrival of his firstborn child, he shifted gears and committed his life to serving God. He began charity work with the homeless on the streets of Calgary while continuing with his businesses. In 2005, when the crisis of homelessness reached its climax, he decided to walk away from the business world and never return. He ended up using his own savings to put himself into the fight for every human being that was falling through the cracks. In the past 3 years, he says he has stood up against the Alberta government and their tyrannical overreach at the expense of his freedom, his own well-being, and time with his family, and he continues to fight today for all of you. You may recognize him from the mainstream media for his involvement in the convoys, 16 arrests, but who's counting? For feeding the hungry and spreading God's word. Or perhaps you might remember him from his invitation to the Alberta Health Services folks to get out of his place of worship. Ladies and gentlemen, the newly elected leader of the Independence Party of Alberta, Pastor Artur Pawlowski.
Thank you so much. You're very kind. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what happened? I just wanted to be a pastor. I just wanted to feed the poor. I just wanted to be left alone, just like 99.9% of Albertans. We just want to live our life and prosper and be able to give something back and leave a legacy and something good for our children. Is that not why our forefathers came to this country? Definitely that's why I came to this country, because we were sick and tired of communism, socialism and tyranny, and we emigrated to Greece, and then Canadian government said to us, come to Canada. Canada is the freest country on earth. Come to Canada. In Canada, no one will ever persecute you for your faith. 16 arrests later, over 100 court cases later, 340 citations later, I'm standing in front of you and I was called the leader of the Independence Party of Alberta, and I'm thinking to myself, this is surreal. I just want to be left alone. And I told them the best way I could, get out. Get out of my church, get out of my life, get out, you people. Who do you think you are? And here I am, thinking to myself, well, this is just the beginning. It looks like they're not stopping. They're cooking something else for you. They're telling you and me you will own nothing. You will be eating crickets. And you will be riding a bicycle in minus 35 in Redcliff, Alberta. Start pedaling. Start working out. Because the future is bright. Why are we here? Why are we here? Why we are doing what we are doing? I'll tell you why I am here. I am here for the children. I want to invite a special young man to the podium. Come here. Come for a second. Come. Don't be shy. I have something for you. Oh, look, he gave me the look. That's the look. I have something for you. Here. We are here because of you, the children. We're fighting, we're standing for the children. Who's coming? We are in solidarity with each other. We're standing in solidarity with each other, but we're standing in solidarity for each other, for them, for the young ones. You're so brave. Thank you so much for coming. Here's a little gift from me to you. Give me a hug. You're awesome. You know, he was helping, this young hero was helping to put the signs up. Like, you're the best. Give me 5. You're awesome. Give me another one. Give me another one. Yeah, you're good. Thank you for coming. You see, they're not stopping with the jobs. They have purchased 12 of them for you. But if you're okay with that, that's fine. I mean, you're an adult. You can take as many as you wish. You can take mine. I'm a good Christian. I'll donate mine to you. If you want to take it. But here's where my problem comes. When you start doing this to children, when you're starting to push that globalistic evil thing on our children, that's where I draw the line. That's where my father's heart rises up and says, not only get out, but I will do something to stop it. They're not stopping with the jobs. Their latest is the gun grab. How, in a rural Alberta, how are you going to defend yourself? How are you going to defend yourself from the wild animals? How are you going to defend yourself when you're attacked by villains and they tell you call 911, and if you would, 45 minutes, you would be either raped or dead. You don't stand a chance. If they will come in 45 minutes after having their donuts and coffee. You see, everything we're seeing right now is about control. They don't care about our children. They don't care about our health. They don't care about our well-being or for us to prosper. They don't care about that. How do I know that? Because I grew up in a messed up country. I've seen this movie before. It's straight from Hitchcock movie. It's a horror movie. It's not a comedy. You know, recession is already here. I hope you know that. You know depression is coming, like we have never seen before. And they're telling rural Albertans, the food is bad. We have a shortage of food, but at the same time, what do? They attack our food supplies. They're trying to destroy our farmers. They're trying to destroy our way of life. They're trying to limit our ability to produce food. Why? If there is a shortage of food, we should be encouraged, and there should be incentives being given by the government to keep our industry going. But this is not happening. Why? Because they have a plan. They have a plan. So instead of telling you my long story, and maybe I'll give you a little bit, I want to ask you a series of questions. And then, of course, we'll be sitting here with Bob, and we will be answering your questions if you have any. So I want to start with this one. Why is it that pastors like me and freedom-fighting truckers are still facing charges and legal costs and jail? It's a valid question. Because everyone is talking about freedom these days. It's popular. Sovereignty Act and freedom and doing the right thing. And I was disgusted when I saw all of this unfolding. Well, listen, I'm still facing charges. I'm still criminally charged. There's still boys in prison. There's still politicians that didn't sing, I guess, the globalistic song, charged with mischief over 5,000, which is 10 years of imprisonment. And we're not talking about NDP government. We're not talking about the Liberal government. We're talking about UCP government that did this to us. People tell me, oh, you're going to split the votes. People tell me that you're going to help elect NDP, and I'm asking you, show me the difference. It was not the NDP that locked me in metal cages like a dog. It was not the Liberal government that put me in a solitary confinement. And excuse me, for what? What have I done? Well, I kicked the Nazis out of our church. And I exposed what they are doing on a global scale. I embarrassed the good SS, if you will. And they didn't like that. So they came back with a vengeance. Law and order didn't matter. The human rights didn't matter. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms didn't matter. The Constitution didn't matter. The Criminal Code of Canada did not matter. What mattered was, you were embarrassed as we're coming with a vengeance. So when you tell me you're splitting the votes, I'm thinking to myself, a good man or a good woman is asking me this question of splitting the votes, and I'm thinking to myself, should a good man or a good woman vote for the lesser of two evils?
No, they need to vote their conscience.
Have we not been doing this forever?
Yeah.
I'm guilty as charged. I did it. I helped elect some of those villains that we have right now. Rick McIver and others, I was part of their campaign team, and I was hoping, just like the rest of us, that they're going to do the right thing. That they're going to defend us. Well, they're our brothers and sisters. They're the conservatives, right? They're going to do, for sure, they're going to do the right thing. And look at us today. Who did this to you? It was not the NDP. It was not the Liberal government. It was our own people that did this to us. It was the UCP. And I vowed, I'll never again, in my life, help me God, I'll never again vote for the lesser of two evils, because voting for the lesser of two evils is still evil. I always struggle within this political realm. You see, I'm a highly patriotic individual. I came from hell on earth. I grew up behind the Iron Curtain under the boots of the Soviets. When I came to this country, when I got my citizenship, I voted in every election. Municipal, provincial, federal, every single one. Because I want to participate. I want to have a say, not just for me. You see, I'm losing more and more hair, just like you. The rest is getting gray. How long do I have? We don't know, only God knows how long. But I'm looking at my children every single day. And I'm thinking, and I cannot help it. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking to myself, what is the future for my children? We escaped hell for them to have a better life. And hell just showed up at our doors. I'm not doing this for myself. I can travel around the world. I can go other places. You see, I'm doing this for them. for my children. I'm doing this for them. How come the corrupt, hypocritical Sky Palace ministers are still in charge? I mean, this is a valid question. If the new reformed UCP government, with a savior at its head, has a change of heart and suddenly they're the good guys, why the same people are in power? Because as you remember, the minister Chandro, at that time he was the minister of health. It was him that sent the Gestapo to our restaurants and our churches and our homes. It was him that told you you cannot see your grandpa or grandma while she or he was dying. It was him that prevented us to go and see our dying mother that had an open heart surgery. Those stories are real. For me, this is not a game. This is not reading a book. This is real. This is life. We faced that. We suffered under those boots, and they're back in power. No charges. I was dragged in the middle of a highway by SWAT team with my younger brother David. My crime? I incited people to come to church. That's the crime I did. I kept the door open for the hurting Albertans to come in, to their clergy, for a prayer, for a worship. My crime? I officiated an illegal gathering, just like during the Soviet era. And you say, well, we were in the middle of greatest crisis. This was the greatest pandemic of all times. Well, if you still believe that you're highly brainwashed or you have no brain. However, let's say that's true. They themselves didn't believe that. That's my point. If we were truly in the middle of the greatest pandemic ever, why they partied with their boss in a Sky Palace? Hypocrisy. Why it was okay for them to drink whiskey and come together, and for me as a pastor was not okay to pray for someone? I'll tell you why. Because they think of you as slaves. To them you don't mean anything. You're just a social insurance number. Just another number in the book. They're taking 50% of your taxes. They enslaved you a long time ago. You were just not paying attention, like that frog in the water. Chandra, newly appointed villain by the savior of Alberta. Travis Taves, the same villain, newly appointed by the new savior of Alberta. Copying that masked your children, segregated them like some kind of a disease. Just like the Germans did to the Jewish people, newly elected, back in power, laughing in your face. Laughing. And saying, what are you going to do? We're going to play the same game we have been playing for the past 40, 50 years. We will say, don't split the votes because NDP might get in. And you fall for it. And we have been falling for the same thing over and over again. And look at us today. I say to you, stop the insanity. Stop it. If we don't win this one, we will win the next one. Stop voting for evil. Just stop it. Start voting for the people that have a heart and actually care. As you can tell, I'm not your typical politician. And I said to my friends and to my wife and to my son, if I ever become a career politician, please kick my butt and do it hardest way possible. Because if I will come to that point, I quit. Because this is not about seed. This is not about money. You know what I said at the very beginning. Because I knew that crazy people are going to attack our finances. I'm not going to be charging, I'm not going to take a penny from the taxpayers. I have a job, I intend to keep it. I'm a pastor, I'll still be a pastor, even if elected. I'm content with the pastor's salary. I don't need palaces and private jets. I leave that to Fauci and Biden that doesn't even know where he is most of the time. Trudeau that is talking about carbon capture and all this nonsense, saving the planet while he's driving SUVs all the time and flying private jets. Don't you see it? It's a charade, it's a joke, it's some kind of a sick movie we're watching. How many laws do we have? One for me and one for thee. When I was charged criminally for doing church, they partied and they were caught red-handed. The Nixon, villain, you can call him snake, because that's what they are, snake, vipers, and scorpions. They're all poisonous, and they're going to sting you to death. It's just a matter of how fast you're willing to die. They're all the same. Chandra, Taves, Kenny, same old crew is still in power. What kind of a change are we going to talk about if the same people that did this to us are still pulling the strings? Why has not Alberta switched from corrupted high-weaver gun-grabbing RCMP to Alberta sheriffs? The newly elected savior of Alberta could do it already. Why is it not done? Why is in it MLA Drew Barnes back in the UCP? Why he's not back there? Those are valid questions that you have to start asking yourself. Todd Blayone is back. Drew Barnes is not. Why? Because I'll tell you why. Because they made a deal. It's all about making a deal behind the closed doors. Who would get what? It reminds me of Cosa Nostra. It reminds me of mafia, sitting together at the table with their hats and just dividing the spoils. And we knew that that's what the politicians do most of the time. And we were okay with that for a while, but now we're talking about our children. Now they crossed the line. They're after our kids. With all the woke culture. Going after the little boys and girls with their perverted ideologies left and right. Why can't they teach us history anymore, and biology and geography? My God, that's why I love rural Alberta, because you guys understand that you cannot have a family with 2 cows. You're not going to have a successful farm with 2 cows. It's just not going to happen. The kids these days think that you can have a successful family and the calf will actually come from that relationship. And this is the reality. We need a ball to make it happen, children. Why has Alberta bought into carbon pricing and carbon taxes? What is the end game? Why are they doing this to us? You see, I am well traveled. I have been in many places. I work in Africa. I work in Belize, Barbados, Europe, North America, Caribbean, you name it. And here's what I observed in the third world countries. They're burning either wood or coal left and right. And if they, the globalists, really wanted to tackle the problem of carbon or all this climate nonsense, they would start over there. Because they're burning everything and the smoke coming from the cities left and right. It's insanity, actually, if you think about it. But they're attacking us, they're attacking you. Why? Because they have a plan. And I've seen that plan growing up behind the Iron Curtain. And here's the plan. They're eliminating opposition. That's what they're doing right now. You are the opposition. The middle class is well-traveled and usually highly educated. And you have some money in the bank account. If the government takes you off, you hire a lawyer, you go after the government. They don't want that. Here's what they want for you. You will own nothing. You will be marching on those crickets. And you will be riding a bicycle. Why? Because during the communism and socialism era, during the fascism, normal people were so occupied with fighting for necessities of life that they had no time to oppose the government. They had no means to fight with the corruption. They just had to swallow everything that the government was giving them. This is the greatest elimination of the middle class ever seen during our lifetime, for sure. That's what's happening. Here is what I put there. More taxes, right? They want more taxes. They're already taxing us to death, but they're saying more taxes are going to help already hurting Albertans. People have lost their jobs, income, loved ones. So why is Alberta's government funding pride parades? Why we pay millions upon millions of dollars for drag queen story time? Abortion. Why do we pay for all of that while our children are hurting? Nude public swims. Do you know that we found them? If you want to take your children to a nude public swim, you can do that. You've got hundreds of perverts with their little children swimming naked in Calgary. You can do that in Edmonton as well. This is happening right now. I oppose that, of course, and the police showed up because they protect perversion. They're not protecting law-abiding citizens anymore. Does Alberta government believe in freedom? Our Alberta motto says, the coat of arms, Fortes et Libre, which means strong and free. If Albertans want to remain free, and you cannot be strong unless you're free, you have to stop doing whatever you were doing in the political realm up to now. You have to cut it out. And take a step back and start looking at what we have seen in the past 3 years. And understand that if we are together, if we will keep doing the same thing, we're going to get the same results. How many saviors we already had in Alberta politics? Prentice was a savior. Do you remember the front page, Calgary Herald, Calgary Sun, every woke evil media outlet was presenting him as the savior of Alberta. Do you remember that time? Well, I do remember that time. You got Redford. Actually, I find it fascinating that it was Redford, if I remember correctly, that built the Sky Palace for herself. And she wanted to be a queen. Why not? She truly thinks you're her slaves. So why not have a palace for herself and her family? And Kenny and his government that is in power right now is continuing the same legacy. Because they truly believe, the elites truly believe that you are their slaves. There's one law for me and totally different law for thee. And you gotta remember, I grew up in an environment like this, where 50,000 communists were ruling over 36 million Polish people. Until one day, and I will never forget that day, the people took it to the streets. And it was crazy. There were tanks on the streets, soldiers with machine guns, curfew, just like we had in the past 3 years. restrictions. You couldn't travel. You couldn't go anywhere. You couldn't say anything. Because not only you were censored, deplatformed, you were arrested and thrown in a solitary confinement, just like I was. You know what they did to me in prison? Put it this way. You know what the UCP government did to me in prison? When I was there, they piled up charges after charges after charges. The Crown Prosecutor came to the judge and said, this man is extremely dangerous. And if he is released on Canadian society, it's going to be a disaster. He says, I caused Canadian economy over $400 million worth of damages. He said single-handedly, they give me lots of credit. I didn't know I'm so strong and powerful. There was 19-minute speech that I did in Coutts. What did I say? I told them to stand up for the rights. Whose rights are there? The rights that we have right now, whose rights are those rights? Keynes, Chandra's, Trudeau's, Fauci's, Schwab's? Those are our God-given rights. Stand up for your rights. And I said, do it peacefully. No guns, no swords. Peacefully. This is a peaceful resistance, just like I saw in Poland, where it started in Gdańsk during the Solidarity movement. The Polish people were not shooting at the other Polish people. They just took it to the streets. And here's what they said. Enough is enough. That's it. We're not going to work for you anymore. We're not going to cooperate with you anymore. You think we're your slaves, and today the slaves are saying, Pharaoh, let our people go. That's what they did. It was brilliant. It was amazing. But it was possible because people came together. And they said, enough is enough. That's it. We're not going to participate in this tyranny any longer. So my question to you is this. You can keep voting for your saviors, or you can invite the real savior back to your land, which is God himself. We've lost that concept. We kicked him out and we complain that we're living in hell. Well, you will see, you don't have to be very bright to understand if you kick God out, who stays behind? It's the devil. You got devil in power. And I say simply to you, tell him to get out. What did I do? People say you're a Canadian hero, you're this and that. And I'm thinking, what did I do? I just told the devil, get out. And if every man and if every woman would do the same thing, this whole craziness would end within 5 minutes. It would be over. Just like the monkeypox that miraculously disappeared. I was observing this and I'm thinking, okay, another scam, another climate change garbage, another scheme of the enemy. And thank God that Canadian people were smart this time and they didn't buy it. How quickly they abandoned the idea. Are you watching? Are you paying attention? Where is, excuse me, someone knows, where's monkeypox? Maybe under your seat, sir. Maybe Trudeau is hiding it in his Mercedes. Where is that virus? It was so deadly, it was so dangerous, like it was everywhere. And then suddenly, boom, gone. And now they're going back to the basics. I'll tell you why. Because they know that the basics, so the C-19 worked. So let's go back around second. That's why. Omicron, garbage, this and that, What it was? It was the Omega variant, I think, if I remember correctly. I didn't even pay attention to this garbage. I just lived my life. I was hugged by literally tens of thousands of people during the greatest pandemic of all times. And I'm still alive. Somehow, I survived. And when they were coming with Omega, I said, what it was? It was not Omega. No, that was before Omicron. Delta, there you go. You see, they're coming with so many lies, it's hard to keep up. Delta, that's what they came with. And I remember people would call me and he would say, Pastor, are you not afraid? Are you not afraid of the Delta? I said, I'm not afraid of the Delta because I serve Alpha and Omega. That's the difference. See, I don't serve your typical people or board. I serve a living God. And that's why they're terrified. That's why they're afraid. Because you see, you cannot buy a man that was already bought. I'm not for sale. I was already bought on the cross. That's it. My life is not mine. It's His. And I said at the very beginning, and the party can testify, because that's what I said, Bob. Is that not the truth? I said, remember this, I'll never stop being a pastor. If you want me, and I'll run. I don't know what God is doing in my life, but I will never stop doing what I love to do, which is saving lives, feeding the poor, and being a pastor, and giving people hope. And I say, take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Because I'm not for sale. I was already bought. You know, the government offered me $2 million to stop doing what I'm doing. And then they came with a cozy, nice, really, really cool job with a fancy title. And I said, I'm thinking to myself, whom I have to kill to get it. But I didn't say it to them. I said, what I have to do to get this job. And they said, nothing. Just don't run for political office. I could be wealthy and very well known and, in a high position within the government, and I would not have to even run. You see, I'm not for sale. The Crown Prosecutor, when I was in the solitary confinement, came to me through my lawyer and said, and by the way, they would not allow me to see a lawyer for 3 weeks. They would put me in metal cages. They would keep me in solitary confinement. Then they would drag me from my cell, strip me naked multiple times, put me in a solitary in concrete, no water, no washroom. They kidnapped me from Calgary, took me to Edmonton, locked me in a max spot for the most dangerous offenders. I was not even allowed to have a pen. They said I'm too dangerous. But you know what? I agree. With a pen, I can be extremely dangerous. Because I write. And I did. And I was writing, and like I said, at one of the interviews, I said that was their biggest mistake they ever did during their careers, to lock a man like me in solitary confinement, because that forced me to start thinking about what is my next move. And I was sitting over there, and I stood up, and I was so frustrated. And I started walking back and forth, and there's not much, you can't do much mileage in a very small little cell. So I went to the window, I went to the door, back to the window, back to the door, and then I said, fine, if they will not allow me to be a pastor, I'll become a pastor politician. And what was chasing me yesterday, I shall chase tomorrow. And then I really prayed, and I said, God, if this is not your will, please, I don't want to win the leadership contest. I don't know if I would be more happy if I lost or because I won. My heart was split because I'm just like you. I was avoiding the responsibility. I did not want to be involved myself. I was content with what I was doing in my life. And I thought to myself, if I lose, I'm off the hook. People have spoken, Lord, sorry. I would be able to say for the rest of my life, you see, I gave them the opportunity. They didn't want it. But by some weird circumstances, I won. And then I said, oops. I have no excuse anymore. I'm in the middle of this swamp. This human manure in a sewer canal. Because that's what politics is. And every time you're there, you don't know who's your friend, who's your enemy. It's like in a snake pit, living 24 hours, 7 days a week. That's not fun. But you see, when you're a man of God, God is giving you the strength and He's giving you the passion for something. Majority of people have never fed the poor. But He has given me this enormous urge for 23 years. I'm feeding the homeless people right now. And I can't stop it. I just cannot stop it. Even if I wanted to stop, I can't. It's in me. That's why I live, to feed the poor and to give them hope and take them off the streets. That's what I do. I can't stop it, even if I wanted to. And that was with this political move. I know that God has something in store for Alberta. I truly believe that Alberta is an epicenter of something. Some kind of a spark. But we cannot do this alone. We cannot do this if we're going to look at human saviors over and over again and be betrayed over and over again. We have to stop the insanity. And we're going to start voting using our heart, with conviction, not with logic. Not saying you're splitting the white votes, because that's what we have been doing for the past 40, 50 years, and look at us today. I'm still facing 2 trials. One in December for $100,000 for feeding the homeless people during the pandemic. Can you believe it? That the Alberta government has charged a pastor that is feeding people for the past 23 years with a $100,000 ticket. And the new savior of Alberta can stop this like this. The moment she was sworn into power, she could say it's not in the best interest of Albertans to pursue this prosecution and, in fact, persecution of the clergymen. And the ticket would be withdrawn. You know how many tickets I got during the C19 line? Over 40. And many of them were withdrawn. They could do it like this, and it's gone. And I can go back and live my life. But they're not doing this. Ask yourself, why? The prisoners, because they dared to stand with the truckers in Coutts, why they're still in prison? We're talking so much about freedom, right? We're talking about we're going to put a stop to the overreach of Ottawa. We're going to bring this and we're going to do that. And we are here, living humans, that we can touch each other. And there are people still imprisoned, facing 10 years of imprisonment and more. Because they dared to say no to Ottawa. Because they dared to say no to the tyrannical UCP government. Just a couple of days ago, my heart was broken. I recovered very quickly, by the way. And I saw a title that our new elected premier is called now the Canadian hero. And I'm thinking to myself, they've called me Canadian hero many times. And if I am in the same company, please call me something else. Please call me something else. Because when I was bleeding on the streets of Calgary and Olds and High River and Edmonton, when we were walking around and yelling and screaming and fighting for our children, the new savior of Alberta was a talking head on the radio. Not standing for us, not fighting for us, not even allowing us to speak on the radio. We tried. Oh, I couldn't do that because I would lose my job. How many tens of thousands of Canadians lost their jobs because they stood for what was right? Do you really want an individual that was hiding for the past 3 years behind a microphone? And you truly believe that that individual is going to fix your problems? And that individual is going to stand up to the globalist agenda? Do you truly believe that? So, my Coutts trial is in February. Jason Kenney came on television when I was rotting in prison, when I find out that 5 inmates testified, and they already testified to my lawyers, that the guards were giving them incentives to murder me in prison, to beat me up. And I'm sitting over there powerless, and I'm thinking, and I said to my wife, does anyone care? I stood for them. I'm bleeding for them. Do they even care? Or they went back to another hero that talks the talk, but is not walking the talk. Jesus again comes on television and he says, an individual that calls himself a pastor, a person that calls himself a pastor, a person that was inciting people to commit acts of violence, should face the consequences. That little monkey devil didn't even listen to my speech in Kutz. Because if he did, he would never ever say those words. Because during my 19-minute church sermon, a speech, whatever you want to call it, a row, Canadians, stand for your rights, because they're God-given rights. Not Kenny's given rights, not Trudeau's given rights, God-given rights. You see, I want to tell you, Jesus is the biggest freedom fighter that ever walked this earth. He died for our freedom on the cross. I am a follower of the best freedom fighter that you have ever seen. And you would not even watch the video, he's just blah, 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 blah. Aren't you sick of the blah, blah, blah? I hope you are sick of the blah, 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 because I'm telling you, their blah, blah, blah is quite clever. They know how to talk. They will give you amazing presentations. I was always impressed how knowledgeable they are and how they're able to really give you what you want with words. But then reality comes. And it's the same old, same old. I'm sick of it. I hope you are as well. And God has given us this opportunity. The French minority, I like it. Let's show the devil in Ottawa that the French minority is rising up and they will become the majority in the province of Alberta. So thank you so much for coming and listening. We're going to answer any question. You see, this is the difference. Anything you want to ask us, anything, I don't care what it is. If I know the answer or if Bob knows the answer, we're going to give it to you from the heart. And if we don't know the answer, we'll try to find that answer for you. Reporters will call me and we're going to send you questions so you can approve them. I said, don't even go there. Fire at will. Surprise me. It's okay, because what that will mean is that they will come from my soul, from my heart, not from the wisdom. And that's how I like the politics to be. Real people with real problems, not the perfect people. But they're just like you and me. Real people that are caring for real lives. And especially for the young ones. So thank you so much.
The leader of the Independence Party, everybody, Pastor Blayone. So just some fun facts for you before we do this other little thing here. We've had two very successful Alberta premiers who were pastors. William Aberhart, or Bible Bill, was the 7th premier of Alberta from 1935 to 1945. And Ernest Manning was the 8th premier of Alberta from 1943 to 1968, serving 25 years, the longest serving premier in the Commonwealth. So let's make Pastor Art the 3rd. He's already proved himself. He's an exceptional leader and he's a warrior like no other, right? Simple. Okay, so we've got this handy dandy little item here, and there is a auctioneer in the crowd. Right there. Come on up. Come on. Oh, pardon me, retired. I'm taking him out of his retirement. This is Dwayne Wigmeyer, and he's going to help us auction off this handy-dandy little item. So let me tell you all about this. Pastor Arthur always talks about draining the swamp. So, what better item to drain the swamp, starting at home, with a plunger? This plunger was crafted by the Sunday school children at Pastor Art's church. And it says, make Alberta great again. And it is signed by Pastor Art as well. So, here we go.
All right. Thank you for the pleasure to meet you, Arthur, tonight. And I just want to say that many of days when you were in solitary confinement, and I bowed my head low to talk to the Alpha and the Omega about you. And after about a week, he told me, he said, they will not break him. My spirit is in him. So we come here, and like from me, I already know you. I know you in the spirit. And we bless you for what you're doing. And I believe the Lord is with you. And honestly, guys, he's right. Think about it. I'm 60 years old, and the red and the blue have done nothing in my life in 60 years. Not one thing. And it is time. It's time for us to awaken. And so we need to raise some money tonight, because, you know, they got to go from here to Brooks and to other places, to Tilly, all these places. So we got to raise some money. And I'm sitting in the crowd and I'm listening and I'm thinking, like, how much could we get for this? What could we really sell it for? I got a couple numbers floating around in my brain. But we're going to do something different. We're going to sell this. Maybe you want to buy it, maybe you want to resell it. Auctioneering can be fun. And I can tell you that I have another plan at the end. And when we're done selling this, I'll tell you the other part of the plan. Because only one person can buy this. And that's a problem. Because we all need to contribute something tonight. So we're going to start this thing off, and I don't know who the winner's going to be, but let's flush the current red and blue down the toilet and get rid of them. Amen? Let's do it. I'm making you nervous.
Squeezing us around.
That's okay. All right, what do you say? Who wants to start her out at 500? 80 bid of 5, I bid 500, now 1,000. How about 1,000? I bid 500 right here. 80 bid about 500, now $1,000 where? 1,000. You want me to work hard for it? All right. How about 600? I bid 5, now 600. A6, now 7. Want to bid now 700. 700 where? Come on, guys. This is for a worthy cause. 700. Come on. It doesn't matter who made it. The fact is, it's a worthy cause. 700. 700. I bid 600. Now 7. 80 bid of 1 of 700. 700 where? 80 bid of 600. Now 7. 700. Come on, guys. 700. Now 8. I bid 700. Now 800. 1 bid of 800. 800. 800 where? Now 9. 800 bid. Now 900. 900. 900. Come on, folks. 900. 900. I bet 800 here, now 900, 900. I'm going way too fast. I bid 8, now 900. Come on, 900. This is a worthy cause. 900, thank you. $1,000. Don't let her outbid you. $1,000. Come on. I would be ashamed to let a woman outbid me. Now, come on. $1,000. 900. I bid 9 right here, now 1,000. What do you say? Thank you, sir. $1,000. Now 1,100. 1,100. I bid 1,000, now 1,100. 80 bid 1 bid 1,100. 1,100 where? 80 bid 1,100. 1,100. 1,000 bid 1,100. 1,100. Come on. 1,100. 1,100. 1,100. Last call?
Yep.
Thank you. Now 12. Don't let her get you. 1,200. 11 bid. Now 12. There's more than one man in here. We have one gal bidding, and look at all the men. 1,200. Come on. I bid 11, now 1,200, 12, hit a bid 12? Thank you, sir. Now 1,300, 1,300, 1,300, 1,300 where? I bid 1,200, now 13, 1,300, 12 bid, 13, 13. Want to bid now 1,300 where? Come on. 1,300. Last call, 1,200.
Could I call for a short break?
Sure.
In a bit?
Only if you can remember the last bid.
No. No.
I'm teasing you.
Well,
Thank you. Now 13.
okay, but I get my break.
Fine.
Okay, could I have anyone interested in joining together to match a high bid?
Come on.
Let's talk for a
No.
few seconds. Anyone interested in joining together to form a bid to counter the highest bid to a certain limit? Yeah, we'll decide what limit we're willing to go for.
So 1,200. What do you say? 1,200. Looking for 13.
It looks like we are witnessing a forming of solidarity.
Come on. 1,200. Now 13. 1,300 where? Let's go on. 1,300. It's a small number. Think about it. It's a small number. 1,300. And then we're going to do something else. 1,200 bid. Up to 1,200. 12, 12, 1,200. Now 13. 1,300 where? Bid now 1,300. 1,300. 1,300. Last call. 1,200 sold. Thank you. All right. You gonna sell it again?
No, he wasn't 1,200. Oh, was he?
He was a successful bidder? This gentleman?
Yeah. This guy right here, right? Yeah, right here. Just put your hand up, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you can get a refundable tax credit. This, as a donation, you can get a refundable tax credit. If you were to donate $1,000, your refundable tax credit is $550. If you donated $1,100, your refundable tax credit is $600, and things like that. See what I'm saying? You will get it back eventually.
You're gonna donate it back? Yes. Okay. Wow, we've got something. This gentleman, the gentleman that bought it for $1,200. Oh, you bought it?
That's why he was on the 12. I was asking for 1,300. He's on our 1,200.
No, it's not.
And I'm saying, last call.
The other guy was on.
1,200.
The other guy was on. So
That's
you
what I
didn't buy
said,
it.
yeah, the other guy was 1,200.
I
Yeah.
was thinking, if you bought it for 1,200 and they gave you a receipt for it and you give it back to me, could I sell it again? How about that, folks? That's how you do it right there. Thank you, sir. We appreciate your generosity. All right, guys.
What did we get?
So the Drain the Swamp plunger, Let's Make Alberta Great Again, was purchased by Ken Golade for $1,200. And Ken has donated it back so we can sell it again.
That's how she works. Beautiful. Hey, only in God's kingdom, eh, Archer? It's the only way it works, multiplication. All right. Since he was at 1,200, why don't we start at 900. Start at 9, right? Hallelujah.
Okay.
I only got 3 more minutes. I'm teasing. 900, start me out at 9. 8 bid 900, 900 where? 900, 900, 8 bid 900, 900. 500 then. Start it over, $500. Where's all the other bidders? Hallelujah. 500. You still get the
Find
flag.
out, we'll just say.
Second time over, 500.
Yeah.
Start me out at 5. 8 bid about 500, bid about 500 where? 5 to the 500, 500. 400 then. 400. Start it over at 400. Come on, guys. 400. This message has to go around. 400, thank you, sir. Now 5. I'm at 400. Now 5. I bid now 500. 400 bid. Now 5. I'm back at 500 where I started. 80 bid about 500. 80 bid about 5. 5 bid now 5. 400 bid now 500. I bid now 5. Come on, 500. 5 bid now 500. 500.
2,000.
Pardon?
2,000 for us.
2,000. That's better than 500. That's how we do it right there. 2,000. Yeah. I think there's some teamwork going on there. That's how multiplication works in the kingdom. It all works. 2,000. Anybody want to top it up? 2,100. You did a bit of 21, 2,100, 2,100. 2,100 under 2,000. Now 21. 2,100, 2,100.
You want to bid up?
Sold. $2,000.
I have a question. How are we giving you the money?
All right.
I don't have time. Okay, so just find out. Okay.
Sounds good.
We just need to ask.
All right. So obviously, I can't. 3 people participated. 4. Nonetheless, we all have to do something. So we're going to get a bucket or a hat. I'm going to throw $20 in. I would like to see every person here tonight put a 20 in. Guys, if you can't throw $20 at this, there's something wrong. You're not thinking right. So I'm going to start it. Bless you, Arthur. I'd like to see every person here, $20, guys. Thank you for the opportunity. All right, so all the participants that bought the blue and red plunger are gifting it back one more time. Let's do it again. This is how you do it. Come on, you guys. 5 years ago, I did a cupcake auction at a church and raised $12,000 in 7 minutes. There's something wrong. Cupcakes, guys. This is for the leadership of our province, the great province of Alberta. $12,000 for cupcakes. Let's start over.
And this is a plunger. Come on.
Yeah.
Stuff and you push down with that.
500. Start me out. Let's go low ball here. 500. Start me out at 5. 8 bit of 5, 8 bit of 500, bit of 500, where? 500, am I going too fast? 500, 500, come on, 500, start me out at 5, 8 bit of 500, where? 200, 200 then, 200, you still get the plunger, still get the deal, you still get the tax receipt, 200, start me out at 200, 200 where? $100 then, thank you. I did 100 now too. He did about 200, did a 200, 200 where? I did 100 now too. 200, 200, 200 where? I did 100 now too. 2. Come on, 200, $200, 200. It already sold. 1,200 and 2,000, 200. Man, this is opportunity if I ever see it. 200. Last call. Thank you, sir. Now 3. 200 bid. Couple 3. It didn't want to bid 300. 300. Hey, beef prices are high right now. 300. $300. Come on. What's the steak worth? $300. 300. I'm at 200. Thank you, sir. Now 3. 300 where? Hit it at 2. Now 300. Bid no 3. 300. 300 where? Last call. 300. 300. Sold. 200. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
So did you guys want to have an Indigenous person leg wrestle to see who gets to take it home? Resell it? Like, okay.
Who wants to resell it? And all the people that pitched in to buy this is like selling.
Absolutely. We'll set that up. Can I get the names of the folks who bought this for $2,000, please? Monica Van Eiderstein is one. And Maria
Louis.
and Louis. And JJ? All right. Let's give Monica, Maria, Louis, and JJ a round of applause. Let's give Ken Goley a round of applause. And Tom Coffey as well. A round of applause for the drain swamp. Let's get that drained. So we have a little bit of time here for questions. If anybody has any questions, if I could get Bob and Pastor Art to come back up, please. And so if you have a question, just kind of raise your hand and we'll track you down and you'll have to shout it out. So I'm used to shouting children in from the far end of the playground so I can show. I'm not sure if y'all want to do that. No questions? Come on. Would you like to know what kind of gloss paint we used on the plunger? There's a question. Do you want to come up? Just come.
I do agree you're offering a bit of a different political solution than how things are currently going. But ultimately, in the end, even if you became premier, it's still a rule, a centralized authority over Albertans, dictating truth using various force mechanisms, and some laws, and some will be just, and some reasonable, and some not. It's still essentially a very similar system. Do you ultimately support a decentralization down to the individual community level, what is sometimes called anarchy government? No slaves, no masters is what it means. Individual, respecting the sovereignty of individuals and communities to decide everything for themselves. Can you see it as a vision? Maybe it could take decades to get there, but could you possibly support that publicly? Yes or no, or why?
Give you my answer. I'd say no. Just because of human nature, there has to be some kind of order and rules in place. Especially over the last 3 years, I wouldn't trust that. We need some kind of rules and laws and a foundation to govern our society. That's my opinion on that.
But anarchy means no slaves or masters. You still talk, you still communicate, you still negotiate truth. You still, as a community, have your individual, decentralized, individually decided community rules. I'm not saying anarchy in the traditional form, or rape, murder, killing. You know what? And it could take decades for people to learn that to get that up. But is it possible? Yes or no?
Well, I do not believe it's possible for the same reasons. When you even look at the Bible, God always had judges and he had his clergymen to look over the people. That's just human nature. People need leaders. That's just how it is. And it has to be the way. The people are looking up to someone. But how are we going to tackle corruption is very simple. And I've said that many times already. We need to have our own police force to start with. That will give us power to say no to Trudeau's globalistic agenda. Also, we cannot allow the politicians to appoint chief of police and judges. That's unacceptable because in reality, what happens is that those chief of police and those judges do not work for us anymore, they work for the politicians. In other words, I have been part of watching closely the Calgary chief of police, and he would, yes sir, to the mayor, because the mayor appointed him, and he was afraid to lose his job. Like literally, those people are afraid to lose their jobs because they were appointed or hired, if you will, by the politicians. So So in other words, what we've lost in the past few years is we have zero accountability. The Sky Palace is a perfect example, and re-election of the same villains, if you will, back into the cabinet without tickets, without arrests, without what they did to us. And also, we have zero checks and balances right now in the political system. And that's what I observed growing up. When you grew up behind the Iron Curtain, it was the famous follow the party line. Everyone had to follow the party line. Right now, the judges are following the party line. The media are following the party line. The politicians are afraid to step out of place because they have to follow the party line. And that goes throughout the bureaucracy, enormous, huge bureaucracy that we have in our provinces and territories. So, how are we going to tackle that? We will elect judges. We want to know where they live. I mean, do you know where the judge lives? It used to be that the individual was living within the community. And, you know, rightfully so, felt accountable to the community. Because you knew where he lives and you knew who he was. We've lost that concept. They're hiding behind a computer screen and they're signing some documents that actually destroy your life. And there's nothing we can do about it. The judge, Adam Germain, that locked me up like a dog with my brother David, broke the law. He broke the Criminal Code of Canada, Section 176. He broke the human rights, international human rights, Geneva Convention, you name it, everything. And yet he's still a judge. He's still a judge in the province of Alberta doing this to other people. We have no checks and balances. So we need to elect judges, we need to elect chief of police, we need to elect our police force. And what we are promising, we are going to bring anti-corruption force. What is anti-corruption force? It has been done in other countries. It's a whip against the politicians. In other words, what I want to create a whip against myself. I'll tell you why. Because we are humans. And unfortunately, in one hand, we are the crown of God's creation. We're so amazing, beautiful. I mean, this plunger, like, wow, you guys are amazing. Who would, in the right mind, put so much money into a plunger? But you understand what's at stake. Without funds, without money, this party is not going to fly. It's not going to move. Everything is moved by money. And you stepped to the plate and you did it. It's a beautiful thing in human nature. But also we can do horrible things. Chandra, Copping, Kenny, Travis Taves, Hinshaw, Tom, Trudeau, I can name the villains all day long. They've done horrible things against us. We are capable of doing great things, or capable of doing horrible things. That's why we need checks and balances. You know why I used to go every year to Auschwitz-Birkenau? I grew up in a city that had a concentration camp, but I went purposely to Auschwitz-Birkenau every year that I visited Poland. And I organized all kinds of events over there. I went there, I took my children there many times, I took my friends. I was offering that to Rob one day when he was still in Parliament. I said, well, come with me, I'm going to Poland again. I want to go back to Auschwitz-Birkenau. I'll tell you why. Because that was a good reminder for me what a man is capable of if you don't put a check into his power. We need checks and balances. We need anti-corruption force that will be watching closely politicians, judges, chief of police, and other force, sheriffs. Without that, it's the same old, same old. So that's how we're going to tackle the overreach, the overstepping of the government, the abuse of power, which we are observing left and right at this moment, by giving teeth to a force that will closely watching us. And we need that. That's a good thing.
This is just a quick question and sort of your response. Can I get exactly, you said in December you have a court date. What exactly is the charge?
So I have been charged under the Health Act for feeding the homeless people. So I received $100,000 tickets or potential fine of $100,000 for feeding the poor. No, it's the health, breaking the health. That's a great question. Absolutely. Yes.
Right on the money.
What's the question, Bob?
What was the question there, Bob?
So, what Pastor Art is facing here, and that he's facing a $100,000 fine for the breaking the health regulations, and to ask Danielle why that is, right?
Yeah, and, you know, she has all the power, how come she's not getting that done? She's really for Alberta, where she's saying.
Well,
Why has she got that dealt?
and why are the four Alberta men still in prison? Right. There's,
Let her answer that question.
yeah.
Because her statements were very clear, as you remember, before she was elected, she would actually mention us, the pastors. Because this was like nothing that we've ever seen in our beloved Canada. What they've done to us, even the North Korea didn't do, or China or Russia during this time. So she says, I'll make sure that those pastors specifically are vindicated, the charges taken care of, and they will be reimbursed for the trouble. I mean, I don't know how she's planning to do that. We're talking about metal cages and solitary confinement, being stripped naked in front of men and women. I mean, how we can put a price to what they've done to me. But I'm willing to sit down and I'm willing to hammer some kind of a deal, because it's easy to tell people what is the right thing to do. It's totally different to actually do it. And we observed in the past 3 years, a lot of people had great ideas about, oh, this is an overreach, we should never shut down the churches, we should never lock, our clients from restaurants. But how many people actually did it? Not many people actually did it. So what I'm saying is, action speaks louder than words. I've heard from the politicians everything your mind can imagine. They're going to give you a moon and the sun and the stars. I mean, it's like some kind of a twisted sick dance. But in the end, they deliver very little. They take more than they give.
And didn't Casey Madhu also admit that this was all political? Yeah. He fully said it. So, again, what are they waiting for? There should be no delay. So, yeah, that's a very good point, and I'll be doing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, there's a question? Okay.
So November 2nd in Brooks is the first debate, yeah, and then November 3rd in Medicine Hat. Yeah. The Chamber of Commerce is putting it on in both cities. It's at the Medicine Hat College on November 3rd. And where about Shannon? So is that where it's at? Okay. Okay, so the Brooks event is venue to be announced, put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and the November 3rd debate is at the Medicine Hat College.
Is going to cover the slide. What time is that?
So is it going to be locally televised? Do we know that?
Don't know what the details of that are. Yeah. Oh yeah. So we'll put the word out and put it, through our membership email, and it'll be blasted out on social media and whatnot. It'll be on radio too, I believe, that they're advertising this.
And what time is it at?
The Medicine Hat is 6 to 7 is reception, and the debate is 7 to 9. And Brooks, I believe it's at 7 o'clock also. Doors open at 6:30, I believe. Okay.
Are you going to ask her those questions?
Absolutely.
Great. What about the WF? Right? No, seriously.
I want to go, so the WEF, that's what she talks about, is just a softball. It's garbage. But what I want to ask her about is Forte and the WEF. And there's something I never spoke of tonight. Wellington Advocacy Inc. It's a lobby organization that was formed about 3 months after COVID began. The payroll and board of that organization are all inner circle operatives, the most top-ranked political strategists of Kenny, Harper, and Doug Ford. And that's the organization that's been lobbying for Forte. Actively, they're still lobbying for it. Yeah, so yes, that's a question. I want to challenge her on the WHO. You know, she's making it sound like this is all going to go away because she's going to dissolve this tiny, tiny little thing with the WEF and AHS. Nothing. No, let's talk about the more important things, like the binding health regulations. Oh yeah, absolutely. Kenny Cabinet 2.0. What changes? Oh yeah, the net zero, all that stuff, yeah, absolutely.
How would you change AHS?
AHS needs to be decentralized again, smashed, and brought back locally managed. Yeah, it's just it's a monopoly right now.
It's very interesting that before this lie, put it this way, did you ever had anything to do with the officers, the health, so-called health officers? Well, I did, because I feed masses, so I had to go through the school and pass the test and food handling permits and all of that stuff, and I all did that, and that's where I the first time saw or witnessed that there are actually health officers like this. But they never had a real power. When you were following the law, they never had this enormous, huge power that was given to them in the past 3 years. That has to be completely dissolved. We gotta put them back where they belong, which, hey, check the restaurants and look if people are making the food in a safe way. That's your job. Stick to your job. Get out of my business, get out of my church, get out of my life, get out of my school. You know what I mean? So, before this craziness, who knew that? No one. And then suddenly they're on TV all the time. Suddenly they're some kind of big shots. Everybody's talking about them, and everyone is listening, every word they're saying. It went into their head. It truly went to their head. We not only have to wipe their powers out, I suggest we have to go after them for what they did to us.
Education, yeah, the rights of the parents, parental choice. We believe that the student funding should follow the student to give the parents some leverage. Right? That's what's missing. Absolutely, whatever their choice is, that funding follows that student. Yeah. Absolutely, 100%, you bet.
And teach children what we want the teachers to teach them, which is history, geographics, biology, science. I mean, since when the number one focus is some woke, evil, crazy, perverted ideology? I don't send my children to school so they can hate themselves just because they're white. I don't send my children to school, like my son just finished university, and he says, Dad, if you knew what they're teaching us, you would never pay for the school. He is there only to get his diploma and get as fast as possible out of this freak show. A teacher comes in university and says, I'm a communist, if you don't like it, there is the door. That's not why I'm paying thousands of dollars for my children to have a good education. I want them to learn about, my son is starting to become a lawyer, I need an in-house lawyer. So I'm investing in my future as well. But I want him to learn criminal justice. I want him to learn the child rights and freedoms, and that's what I'm paying him for. Those people, for him to learn. But he says, Dad, every single day, they were telling us to hate each other, that we are somehow responsible for the native dilemma and for the blacks in Africa and for this and that. I mean, it makes you sick. We came to this country, all of us, we came to this country at some point to start all over again and to live our lives in peace. And that's what they're after.
Roger, did you have a question?
Could you tell me what constitutional money is and how do we institute honest commerce amongst men?
Well, we have to tackle monopoly to start with. We have to tackle the government overreach so people will be free to do business with each other outside of the government's complete control. So that's how you do it. When you look back in history, people were bartering with each other, they were exchanging goods, and the money was flowing, and you paid less than 8, sometimes 6% to the king in taxes, and the king was happy and left you alone. And you could do business with each other as long as you gave the king what he wanted. He had no business with you. Now the government wants to control every aspect of your life. Not only they're robbing us 50% in taxes, and they want more taxes. They want to know what you do after you paid your taxes. It's not your business what I do with my money. You go to a bank and you want to withdraw $5,000 or $10,000 from your bank, and they ask you 10,000 different questions. Why? And I want to scream and yell. It's not your business. What if I want to burn my money? What if I want to eat it? It's my business, it's my money. Give it to me. Now. Right? We've lost that. Because you see, they got the directives from the globalists. And they want to know what you're going to do with your $5,000. Even though you pay taxes, or legal money, you put them in a bank account. Everything we're witnessing right now is about control. Everything you see, it's about control. It has nothing to do with your well-being, has nothing to do with keeping your family safe, it has nothing to do with that. The government is a fascist, communist, socialist hybrid, as I call it, and wants to take over every aspect of your life. And it's up to you to say no, and you can add what I did, get out.
Any more questions? Just wanted to say,
how much foreign influence are we fighting to paying more? Like
they've stolen, that's where it's going. It's left Canada.
Chinese foreign soldiers.
We have Chinese foreign soldiers on the soil in Alberta, British Columbia. Now we've got a police force in Toronto watching Chinese citizens. I mean, this is insanity. If I had the power, and maybe I'm stepping out of line here, well, they will tell me after, but if I had the power, let's say I was elected to be a king, I would charge those people with treason. Though what we have observed is treason at the highest level, starting from Kenney and ending with Trudeau and his cabinet. What they've done to Canadians is a treachery, treason. And if the capital punishment was in place, they deserve the capital punishment for what they have done. Because you see, we're not talking about money and commerce and monopoly and all those different things. Now we're talking about human lives. People are dying every day now because of what they did. Children are being jabbed, triple jabbed, as we speak right now, and they're not stopping. They're still pushing. If I had an opportunity like Bob to talk to the new savior of Alberta, I would say, don't you know the children are dying as we speak because they're being forced with the job? Don't you care about children? Stop it. And you can stop this insanity now. We did the show with a Dr. McCulloch, Dr. Alexander, and Dr. Hodgkinson. And I mean, it was over 2 hours. And I was in horror listening to what they had to say, just about jobs, just about masking, just about isolation, segregation, all the things that did that to us. And over again, those experts, because I'm not a doctor, don't take my word for it, he's not a doctor, but they said, Art, millions of people are going to die because of what they are pushing right now. That's criminal, that's genocide.
So yeah, there's over 1,000 studies, and after that convention there, I sent Danielle Smith to both of her emails the information and an offer of an extension. I CC'd those great leaders in there with an invitation to meet with them. And of course goes unanswered, but yes, I will ask her in person to stop this insanity, to shut this vaccination program down immediately. Yeah, it needs to happen.
She also needs to be called to account why she hasn't taken these people and removed the charges. Sorry, they all need to be gone.
Absolutely.
She has the power to do it.
Yes.
Oh.
How are we going to handle our oil industry?
Our oil industry, our oil industry. There's an uptick now. Hey, it's not a boom. Hey, JJ, it's far from it. I used to work with JJ at Smith Bit, so yeah, this is not what it should look like. It should be, it's the cyclical cycles we go through, and you go through times where you can't get a day off to, now looking for skilled tradespeople is challenging. Of course it is. We don't have any stability here. We need more access to other markets. We need tight access, pipeline. So working with First Nations, I talked about a project, Eagle Spirit Pipeline, was an amazing proposal of a project, 50-50 partnership, private equity. All 34 nations along its route were signed up to it, went from Fort Murray to just north of Prince Rupert, and hundreds of other First Nation communities across Canada. So the treaties cross provincial boundaries. Northern BC is our ally. There's a corridor right there. That's our corridor. And that's what we're going to work on and getting that going. Because here's a story I tell frequently. A friend of mine lives in the community of Fox Lake, Alberta. Very isolated community. 3,200 people live there. 80 to 90% unemployment. They are sitting, and they know they're sitting on a massive amount of energy. They tried to get the railway through there, and now this Eagle Spirit pipeline failed. And my friend Daniel said to me 2 years ago, he asked me, Bob, when are we going to get our opportunities? Yes, it's important to everybody. This nonsense that the media puts out that Indigenous are against these projects, that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. So we need to partner together and just make it happen.
Incentives to the big corporations. I remember when Calgary was called the center of the boom energy. I don't know if you remember that time. And what do the woke, globalistic, left, evil politicians do? They drove them away, back to Texas, back to Dakota, other places. We need to give them incentives for them to come back to Alberta. Also, we need to share the energy, the profit that God has given us here. I believe that we should lower the taxes or get rid of the personal income tax altogether and just rely on the energy sector. Do you know that Alberta has so much oil that we could truly become the Saudi Arabia of North America? North America. We have so much oil that we can be the most prosperous province and territory in the country. But what Ottawa government is doing, you got to remember that there is a game, they're playing a game. Justin Trudeau owns oil companies in Saudi Arabia. So it's in his best interest to bring oil from the villains, because when I hear the clean oil, it's not clean oil, and this, I just want to throw the TV out of the window. We have the cleanest energy you can imagine. Saudi Arabia is throwing people off the buildings. In Saudi Arabia, women are treated lesser than cows. You're talking about clean energy and ethical oil? Seriously? With the villains straight from the Middle Ages? I mean, this is crazy. Albertans, we have the cleanest and the most ethical oil that there is. And it's our oil. And we should share the energy and the benefits from that energy that God has blessed this province with. Of course, because they have a plan.
And here's the plan. Here's part of the plan. A friend of mine, big farmer up in northern Alberta, and we had a difference of opinions through COVID, but we reconnected a few months ago. So he starts telling me about this exciting proposal that he's got coming from the Minister of Agriculture. They want them to grow canola for the purpose of making jet fuel. And he said he's all excited. We don't even have, it doesn't have to be ripe. We take it off green, and away we go. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to play Minister of Agriculture right now. No. You grow food and let the energy producers produce energy.
Have you noticed that everything is upside down? They're telling us that there is a food shortage, but what do? They attack our food supplies and our ability to produce food for not just for us, but so many other people. Because again, I keep hammering this, they have a plan. And they are implementing that plan to weaken us, remove the middle class. Because what they're doing is removing an opposition. As simple as it can get. They just don't want you to be strong and powerful, because if you're weak, if you have a second job, if you're just running around like a wild tail in the bushes trying to survive another day, well, you can't protest, you can't rally, you can't come to a town halls like this because you will be working right now. That's the plan. You will own nothing, you will be eating crickets and riding a bicycle, and you will be extremely happy, so start laughing.
I won't be happy. One more question right here.
Not actually a question, but I have a friend that studied the whole thing. He used to be a tree hugger. There's a great documentary called The Great Global Warming Swindle. And if you haven't watched it, everyone needs to watch this. During the Cambriatic period, the temperatures on Earth were much higher and life boomed. And both poles were melted. This was probably tropical where we are right now. And so this idea that, oh, we're going to cause global warming, actually the sun is what causes global warming. It's a natural cycle. It has nothing to do with us burning coal. We produce at maximum 1.5 degree increase in temperature on the Earth. It has to do with the sun. It has nothing to do with mankind.
Thank you so much. There are signs over there for you to take, help our candidates to have a fair chance to tackle the beast, because that's what we're dealing with, a beast that wants to eat you and wants to eat us. So thank you so much for coming, and hope to see you again. Be blessed, stay strong. You are, after all, Albertans.